Hi, good evening. My name is Iris. This is Summary Media number 6. Yes, 6. And I focus on the topic of signs, acts, especially in the book of Ezekiel. This topic stood out to me because it shows how God communicated with his people in a way that went beyond just words. Instead of just speaking messages, sometimes the prophets acted them out. These actions were meant to help people see messages clear and not just hear it. You may ask what sign acts are. Sign acts are symbolic actions performed by prophets to communicate a message from God. They were not just random or emotional reactions. Each action had a specific meaning behind it. According to Boda, these acts were used especially when people were not listening. So the message had to be shown in a more direct way. This stood out to me because it shows that sometimes words are not enough. When people become so used to hearing something, they start ignoring it. And that message had to be presented in a way that would get their attention. Ezekiel gives an example. One of the clearest examples of signs acts come from the prophet Ezekiel. His actions were very detailed and sometimes hard to understand at first. For example, Ezekiel was told to lie on his side for a long amount of time, right? To represent the punishment between Israel and Judah. He also created a model for Jerusalem and acted out a sage against it. If you read the book of Ezekiel, chapter 4, verses 1 through 8, you will see this example. These actions symbolize judgment and show that what was coming because of the people's disobedience. Even though these actions may seem strange, they had a clear meaning behind it. They were a visual message that people could not easily ignore. And what stood out to me in this part was how committed Ezekiel was, and that these actions were not easy. That required patience, obedience, and even sacrifice. It shows that being faithful to God, what God calls you to do, will not always be comfortable. It is not comfortable all the time. And why these actions matter is because these signs acts were not just about getting attention. They were meant to make a message clear and real. Each action connected directly to what God wanted to be communicated. Even with these clear signs, people still did not always respond the right way. This shows that seeing something does not always lead to change. There can still be a gap between understanding and action. That stood out to me because it shows that the issue is not about people not understanding, it's about people not wanting to change. You can give the people all the right tools, the right guides, the examples. Sometimes people still don't want to change even though they see examples in front of them. For me, that connects a lot to today because sometimes just saying something is not enough. People often respond more to what they see than what they hear. That is why actions still matter. In everyday life, the way a person lives can communicate just as much as what they say. That made me think about how important it is to be consistent. If the actions don't match the words, the message can be lost. It can lose its impact. That's why it's very important to practice what you preach. Live what you preach. Live by the examples that you give. Be that role model. Be that example. Because it also made me think about how people respond to truth. Just like in the time of the prophets, people today can hear and even see the truth and still choose not to act on it. That shows that growth is not just about knowing something, but it's actually about responding to it. Overall, sign acts show that God was intentional in how he communicated with his people. Even when they were not listening, he continued to make the messages clear. These actions were very meaningful, not random. They showed both warning and opportunity. This topic helped me understand that communication is not just about words, but it's also about actions. It also reminded me that hearing the truth is not enough. What really matters is how we respond when we hear the truth. We always going to say, tell me the truth, tell me the truth. But when we tell you the truth, how are you going to respond to it? That is the key. So I hope you had an amazing time listening to this message. I hope it helped you. I hope it gave you some nugget of wisdom. Have an amazing night.